Persuasion. Am I more persuasive now because I'm wearing a suit? What are the different types of persuasion? Imagine we're best friends. You smoke a lot of cigarettes. I persuade you to give up cigarette smoking. That's good. Now imagine I have a shop. You walk into my shop. I sell give up smoking packets for $75, and I try to persuade you to give up smoking, to buy one of my packages. Is that me helping you? No, that's me trying to take your money. So we have two different types of contexts there. The first context is a friendship where persuasion could be good. The second context is a business relationship where persuasion, is it bad? Is it good? It's hard to say. Let's run through some different types of persuasion. 5 different types of persuasion. The first one is reciprocity. This is when a business gives you something for free, expecting you to buy something that day or later on. There are basic forms of reciprocity that really work. For example, if you want to buy an ice cream, you go into the ice cream parlor, they give you a small amount of the ice cream for free, hoping that you'll buy some ice cream. It's very rare that somebody would walk out of an ice cream shop once they've got some ice cream for free. Now you could stay in the ice cream shop and taste all of their 50 flavors for free and get a free ice cream, but people rarely do that. That might be a really good opening for a movie. So they're betting that after you taste 1 or 2, you're going to buy an ice cream, and most people do, and it's a great deal because you get to taste, try before you buy. How about another form of reciprocity where something is seemingly free, but it may not be? The other day I was looking at an event on the internet, and it was with a co-working space. They had a free marketing event. It was free. I researched the event. I couldn't find too much on it. And then the image they were using was a stock image, and I thought, oh, that's a bit dodgy. Couldn't find any information. I thought, look, I'll just click through and see what happens. So I clicked attend, and I was presented with a form that asked me 12 questions about my personal information. Now that to me is not free. So now, from now on, I have an image of this co-working space in the city as basically dodgy. It's not really free. You might think it's free. I don't think that's free. I think that's very expensive. I don't want all my details out there on the net, especially 12 questions. So when you're using persuasion, be careful. When you say it's free, is it really free? You don't want to damage your reputation. You don't want to damage you don't want to damage your reputation. That's better. The second example of persuasion is social proof. This is when other people in society say something you're selling is really good. So if you have a business and you get lots of 5-star reviews, this is social proof. But is it? Because we all know 5-star reviews can be bought. And an easy way to tell they're bought, they're dodgy, they're fake, is they're very general reviews. For example, a cafe may have a review saying, your cafe is super fantastic. I had such a great time there. The music was great. The food was great. The service was great. I'm definitely going to tell all my friends and go back. Well, is that a real review or a dodgy review? So we have to be careful about social proof. A way to tell if a review is legitimate is probably because it's specific. So when you ask for reviews for your business, ask the people who are reviewing it if they can name something specific that they enjoyed. For example, a cafe review, if they specifically name the dishes they had and why they liked them, that's more believable. That's a more thorough form of social proof. Authority. For example, I'm wearing a suit, so you probably perceive me to have more authority, and maybe you trust me more, maybe you don't. Other ways of authority are people, businesses employing famous people to spruik their brand, or you can have a doctor, a dentist, a research facility, a university saying what you do is good. But then we all know that you can pay educational institutions or people to say things that are good about you, and we also know statistics can be turned around to suit the person who uses them. Envy. This is typically, for example, somebody on Instagram that puts shots up of their fantastic life and we envy them. And it's also interesting to note that when somebody wants to sell a toothbrush or a cake of soap, the television commercial is always made in a very expensive house. So they're hoping that you'll leave your home, your little apartment, go down to the supermarket, buy a toothbrush, and you come back and all of a sudden your apartment is transformed into this big billion-dollar house. And lastly, number 5 in persuasion is we have scarcity. This is when a business will say, hurry, tickets selling fast, or hurry, there's only 2 ebooks left. And this might be true. Well, it won't be true for the ebooks, but it might be true if a business says, hurry, we've only got 20 tickets left. But there's a problem with this. The first thing the customer's going to think is, are they lying to me? And you've planted that seed of doubt in the customer's head. So with all these types of persuasion, we have to be careful about persuading people, because you can very easily ruin your reputation, and people will remember dodgy businesses for a very long time. And now the effects of persuasion. When a business tries to persuade us, the first thing we generally feel is resistance, in terms of don't tell me what to do. There could also be feelings of confusion, because if you're trying to persuade someone, give them the benefits before you've given them the facts or the features, they could possibly get confused also. And then there's the possibility that you do persuade them successfully, they buy something for you, getting caught up in the heat of the moment. The next day they wake up with buyer's remorse, and then they have a bad feeling about you all the way into the future. Maybe they ask for a refund, maybe they give you a bad review if they feel they've been tricked somehow into buying what you're selling. If we had to put a number on how effective persuasion is, I would probably guess 10%. So a lot of big businesses use this. They have professional salespeople that work full time that are constantly cold calling people, for example, and it pays off for them. If 1 in 10 people buy, then it's worth employing that salesperson. The tricky thing here is that for a small business, once you've ruined your reputation, it's ruined. With a big business, they've got lots of cash reserves, so they can afford more so to churn and burn. And with a big business, they don't really need to worry so much about forming relationships, so they can be more persuasive. Generally speaking, a big business can get a customer and hope that they hang around. For example, my former telco that I was with them for 20 years, and I would always see on the internet these specials they'd have for new customers. I'd been with them for 20 years and I wasn't allowed these new specials, so they were just hoping I would hang around, and I did. I hang around for a few years before I finally got rid of them. So is there some type of way we can know if persuasion is good or bad? And I think there is, and the test is really, would you say it to somebody's face? So if you went to a party and say you're a marketing guru, would you say, hi, my name's James, I'm a marketing guru, I'm the best in Brisbane? You wouldn't say that to their face. So if you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, don't put it on your website. Because as a small business, especially as a solopreneur, one-person business, when people read your website, they imagine they're talking to us. So if you wouldn't say it to their face, don't put it on your website. And finally, talking about persuasion, there are degrees of persuasion. As we've just discussed, some are quite innocent. You walk into an ice cream shop, they give you some ice cream, which is reciprocity, hoping you'll buy something from them. Some are innocent, some are not so innocent. So to cap this off, let's put persuasion in the context of something more sinister, which is manipulation, and then persuasion, and then influence. Now we know most people would agree. The top one, manipulation, that's bad. Persuasion, we're not so sure about. And below persuasion, let's put influence there. Influence, most people would agree, is not too harmful, not too bad, doesn't have too many bad effects. So let's look into persuasion. There are mild forms of persuasion, which I would probably class as influence. For example, a literary device, a poetic device, which is alliteration, where you have the first letter of each word, the same letter, to influence people to buy from you. So for example, Kit Kat, PayPal are all businesses that use alliteration, and it sounds good, it rolls off the tongue, and that sort of influences us. It feels good to buy, but that is a very mild form of persuasion. So it's probably acceptable for most people. Another example of an easy form of persuasion, probably more like influence, is a sign that says 50% off. You're walking through the mall, you look into a shop, 50% off sign, I'm straight in there. That's mild persuasion. Most people would say that's fine. But let's move that to the next level now. Imagine you've walked into the shop, because of the 50% off sign, you're looking around for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you catch a glimpse of the 50% off sign, and at the bottom of the sign you see off your second purchase. So it's full price for the first item and 50% off the second item. Now I know what I would feel. I would feel ripped off. So what's happened there is we've gone from a gimmick, which is a 50% off sign, into a trick. Now there's nothing wrong with a gimmick. 50% off, the alliteration example I've just mentioned, that's just a gimmick. Gimmicks are fine. Buy this and go in the drawer to win a holiday. It's a gimmick, it's fine, it's harmless. But when we move into the area of trick, which some people think is okay, but it's not. Once you've tricked someone, they're going to remember your business for a long time as tricky, and it'll influence them not to come back. So with all of this talk of persuasion, we've seen that some persuasion is fairly harmless. Most persuasion, we'd probably have to say, is bad because it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. It does work 10% of the time, but is 10% really what you're after? There is a better way than persuading people. And the reason why businesses don't use this better way, which is just to help people, is because it takes more effort. Persuasion is something that's done in the heat of the moment. Buy my stuff now, and use tricky words and techniques to trick people. That can be done now. But instead, if you put in the effort, for example, having an educational website, articles about your service, the pros and cons, articles about your industry, is there an industry event on next month, tell people all about it, that type of helpful stuff, that takes effort. That's why businesses don't really do as much helping as persuading. But helping is really a better long-term solution for long-term revenue for your business. And that's what we'll talk about in the next video, selling by helping. That's all. Have a great full day.